we go with war with the Watchtower over child abuse. What was Jeffrey Jackson's way of wording the way that he said things when he was asked questions about child abuse? He wouldn't say that they had a major problem because he didn't want Jehovah's Witnesses to know that there is a major problem of child abuse. Then making excuses over making changes of policies for protection of child abuse has made no difference. So Jeffrey Jackson is not really concerned about dealing with the child abuse. A member of the governing body, which most Jehovah's Witnesses would say that this is fake news, but this is part of the Royal Australian Commission, which wasn't just the Jehovah's Witnesses, it was most of the religions that was dealing with child abuse.
Now, do you recognise, Mr. Jackson, and in asking this question, let me make it clear, I'm not suggesting it's peculiar to the Jehovah's Witness organisation. There are many, many organisations in this position. But do you accept that the Jehovah's Witness organisation has a problem with child abuse amongst its members?
I accept that child abuse is a problem right throughout the community, and it's something that we've had to deal with as well.
And do you accept that it's presented, I withdraw that, do you accept that the manner in which your organisation has dealt with allegations of child sexual abuse has also presented problems?
There have been changes in policies over the last 20 or 30 years where we've tried to address some of those problem areas, and by the fact that we've changed the policy would indicate that the original policies weren't perfect.
And you of course that.
And basically over the last 30 years there has not been major changes within the Watchtower over child abuse. Within the Elders' book it says that the victim can call the police, but first, before calling the police, call the Bethel. The police should be called first. Elders should have not just the elders by law should have a statutory duty to call the police even before ringing the Bethel.
Your organisation, including people in positions of responsibility like elders, are not immune from the problem of child sexual abuse.
That appears to be the case.
There you are. An admission that there is child abuse majorly within this organisation, and under oath, twisting with words Jeffrey Jackson, but having to admit that there is a problem of child abuse within Jehovah's organisation, which is meant to be the only organisation, the supreme one that will survive Armageddon of 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah's clean organisation.
And do you accept, Mr. Jackson, that many of the efforts that are being made by different people and organisations to highlight the issue of child sexual abuse and try and find solutions are genuine efforts to improve the situation?
I do accept that, and that's why I'm happy to testify.
And that's
the basic lie from Jeffrey Jackson, because if he really wanted to deal with child abuse, he would allow women to help instead of elders interrogating and writing notes on child abuse, he would have to stop disfellowshipping people because the organisation hadn't told them not to report it to the police. The elders need to stop destroying records of the child abuse, of what the documents that they've written, and also the 2-witness rule would need to be changed so that children are protected and that paedophiles would not be allowed in the Kingdom Hall, would not be allowed to take children out on the ministry. But these are all things including calling the police first. But of course, because they believe in their little game that they're Jehovah's organisation, they've not done that.
Such efforts are not necessarily an attack on your organisation or its system of beliefs.
We understand that too.
You described earlier in your testimony that the work of this Royal Commission is beneficial. Do you accept then that the Royal Commission's efforts are genuine and well-intentioned?
I certainly do.
If Jeffrey Jackson thought that it was, then he would have changed his policies. He would have also paid the money that was meant to be paid to the victims for counselling, for the victims in Australia, compensation. But the Watchtower had to be threatened of their charity status in Australia by the Australian government. And if you don't believe me, then you can Google it and you'll find out what the Australian government said that they were going to do to Jehovah's Witnesses. And that just showed that Jehovah's Witnesses cared more about money than protecting children. Also, Jeffrey Jackson is a liar, and he's also allowed to lie theocratically to protect the organisation.
And that's why we came into the Royal Commission, hoping that collectively something would come forward that would help us as well as everybody else.
And would you disagree then?
So that's just a load of bullshit.
With anyone who said that the efforts to highlight and deal with child sexual abuse in the Jehovah's Witness Church is engaging in apostate lies?
I guess that's a broad question, because sometimes those who make these accusations make many other accusations as well. But let me assure you, the person making the accusation is not the main thing. The main thing is there some basis to the accusation? And if there is some way that we can improve, the governing body is always...
This guy's a liar because they don't like criticism of the organisation. They don't like anyone coming to them about child abuse. If there's no witnesses, they won't investigate it. If there is, and they investigate it and they disfellowship the person, then they may be told not to go to the police. So it's just a load of basic crap from Jeffrey Jackson, what he's saying. And somebody probably thinks that this is a fake recording of Jeffrey Jackson. Well, you can check it on a legal Australian government website, the Royal Australian Commission.
Is interested in seeing how we can refine our policies. You see, Mr. Stewart, could I just emphasise, as a religion, two very strong things we feel. One is we try to keep a high moral standard, and secondly, there's love among...
Yeah, there's love. There definitely is love for the people that have been abused by your child abusers in your organisation. The love is you shun people who are being abused. you tell them to shut up. The love is that you don't pay the money to the victims. The love is that you make people sign contracts to give them money, that they don't speak to anybody. That's the love. Nothing has changed within the last 30 years of this organisation. Child abuse is rampant from the time of when Barbara Anderson found the files in the Bethel. Nothing's changed. And you're still trying to play games and hide it. You people who claim that you love God and that you love high morals, you are a hypocrite. You need to... I know that I'm a hypocrite, so I know it. I look at myself and I see that I think I'm a hypocrite as a Christian. But that is because no one is going to be perfect. And this organisation expects total loyalty to the organisation and nothing else. It's not about Jehovah's salvation or love or compassion. It's about, if you're not loyal to the organisation, whatever the organisation says, even if it means you have to shut up about child abuse, as what we've seen recently in one of the Pennsylvania cases, that they were told not to say nothing about the child abuse when the guy found the person abusing his child in his house. And so he's just talking theocratic warfare, but bullshit.
The organisation. So we want to treat victims in a loving way.
Oh yes, we want to treat people, victims, in a loving way. So our loving way is that we shun them and we just fellowship them. We are so loving. We will not pay for the redress scheme. That's why we get threatened to have money taken away from our account. He's a lying, sniping little git. So we can see, so that we can see Jeffrey Jackson, that he is a liar. He should be disfellowshipped. He should be removed from the governing body. His brains are in his balls, basically, because he believes that he represents Jehovah God. And because he represents Jehovah God, we'll leave this in Jehovah's hands about child abuse, and we'll let Jehovah deal with it, because the principles of the two witness were always more important. And we don't want to give in to apostates because they're evil people. They're evil people because they want to protect children. We're not evil because we don't want to protect children. And this guy his brains are in his balls. He's just literally believing the garbage that comes out of his mouth, but doesn't, or not concerned about child abuse, not concerned about protecting children. When you look at, I can't remember the guy's name on Panorama that refused 30 years ago to answer questions about child abuse. They're still playing a game, and it needs to be dealt with. Jehovah's Witnesses, you need to see that this guy is a liar, a deceiver, and it just makes me cringe, basically, because leaving it in Jehovah's hands, these victims have to deal with the every day of their life of what has happened to them, and they're never completely going to get over it. It's going to screw them up for the rest of their lives. And you got this dipshit that stands there thinking that he's God's representative, and he doesn't care a you know what about any of them, and that angers me so much that I shouldn't get angry over it, because this is what you should expect from a governing body.